need a pre-streaming checklist where I actually check whether the audio is working. So it's Chris, and we're working on Redwood JS. So today I was thinking we could look at modifying the schema and adding categories. So right now we've got items, user items, and we want to add categories. The reason is when you shop through a grocery store or store, the aisles are basically categories. They don't put stuff up alphabetically or randomly or whatever order. It's in the categorized order. And that's the whole idea behind this app is if you can start shopping via the categories, it will save you time and money. If you're not going down aisles that you don't need at the grocery store because you're only going down the aisles that you have categories for that are on your shopping list, it will save you money. So my wife and I have found that at least. All right, so let's go over and look at the app. What we did last time was we made it so you can select stuff. What's another wine that's Pinot Grigio? What's another one? Pinot Noir, that's one. Pinot Noir. So you press Control Enter, and that adds it. So, are there other ones besides Pinot Noir and Pinot Grigio? Oh, Pinot Gris. I forgot about that. Pinot Blanc. So if I continue adding that, but let's say we added a Pinot class, I can tab up and down, or not tab, but I can arrow up and down, but I can't add this Pinot. So the way to do that is you press Control Enter, and now we've got Pinot on there. So when your wife says go grab some Pinot, she probably means Grigio, but you've got these other options as well. But these, everything but milk is in the same category at the grocery store. So we want to fix this so these are a categorized list. So first thing we have to do is add canonical categories. So let's go look at the Redwood documentation for stuff. All right. So Redwood uses Prisma and the Prisma schema. So let's look at the reference for the Prisma schema. Say hello if you're watching. I don't know what you're drinking today, but I've got some cold brew coffee because it's hot outside. So the items are going to have one category. Let's go to this models. It's about naming them, fields. Find them. Okay, we'll just leave relations up. So what did I say? Categories are going to have multiple items. I don't know why, but we'll just throw it right here. Category. So we'll need an ID. Might as well have that as an int. Default. Auto increment. And we'll have a category name. That'll be required. So, okay, so no longer required by default. And a category is going to have items. It's going to be item. Which means item is going to need a category ID, which I'm going to keep that created at and updated it at the bottom. I'll do the category ID first. So that should be an int. Category will be a category. And the relation will link the category ID on the ID in categories. All right, so that defines the relationship that I think we need. So here's an example of it. This is user and post. Can't think of another way to call this category. I mean, it's the item category. That's what it is. So hey Brad, what's going on? Checking my first real stream. This is my Redwood project. We're basically creating a grocery list. So I've got nothing selected right now. Backslash to select the top. And what do you want to add? What's on your grocery list? I'm going to add some Ritz crackers because I need to buy some more of those. So that just created a new item in the item list, and then added Southern Comfort. I like that. Got a lot of alcohol in this. So Southern Comfort's on there as well. What we're doing right now is we're creating a relationship with categories. So when you go grocery shopping, the aisles are roughly categories in the store, and those categories show up differently in different stores. So I'm going to create a way for the app to track that. You know what? Your Soko needs some lime as well. That's how I like to have mine. So, what we need to do is with Redwood, they've got a bunch of CLI commands. I've used Hasura and Prisma briefly, and I've never used Fauna. Um, Hasura looks really powerful. I was actually surprised at how quickly it was to throw something up, but I was just exploring it. I never actually used it on anything significant. I know you were talking about Hasura on something. I saw something you were talking about Hasura on. So we're going to do a DB save. So you do a yarn redwood DB save and yarn redwood DB up to do the migration. See if we get any complaints. Oops, unexpected error, no such argument. If you watch through the Redwood videos that Rob does on Redwood JS, he lays it out so nicely, and that's basically what I'm doing right here. I just am showing you how I failed doing it. So it doesn't like Prisma line 31. Let's look at line 31. It may not like the space. I kind of did that for formatting, but you know what this might be? This might be my NVM. If you've watched the YouTube videos, I've run into that error a lot. Okay. So it still doesn't like it. Oops, no such argument. All right, let's look through this category and item. So items is an array of item. Items connected. Types are correct. Maybe the order's wrong. So Redwood, I don't know, I just saw what you said about fauna. This has some generators which we utilize, but then we focus on top of those generators. So it does give sort of an API, but like for instance, so like for items, this create item and user item, this is what creates. So in my services, this does a bit more than just create on a single type. So requires auth, check if it exists, check if it's already in the database, and then creates it. I assume you could do those with Fauna DB. I haven't actually looked at it, so be interested to see a bit more about that. All right. We've run into our first brick wall. All right, so it's still not liking Prisma line 30. So it's not liking this relation. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Fields. So I've been very dependent on autocomplete, and my autocomplete failed me. All right, so it added the migration. Saved the migration. Now we need to yarn redwood db up to move up the migration. So there's going to be data loss in this migration because I don't have categories initially in those items. So we're going to have to add that SOCO again, Brad. And it still didn't like it. Okay. Need to migrate. All right. Let's try again without the server running. Okay. Let's, we're going to nuke the database just because we don't need it anymore. And yeah, normally you wouldn't do this, but you live only once. All right, so we created the new one. That's one of the advantages of a greenfield project. Don't have to worry about anything that's in there. All right, there should be nothing in the database at the moment. I think we're going to have to sign up for the process. So the migration, I guess if we were doing it properly, we would create a category of undefined or unlisted beforehand, and then connect that with every product before, or every item before we continued working on it. All right, let's add that Southern Comfort, Brad. All right, now we're getting our first complaint, and I think it's probably because we don't have any categories. See, it's missing the categories right here. So we probably want to have a default category that we add, but first we need some categories to begin with. So after this step, we're probably not going to want to use the nuclear option. So let me show you another Redwood CLI. So this is the generate, and we're going to scaffold out the categories model, which is going to do a lot. So it'll be, so yarn redwood generate scaffold category. All right, so this did a whole hell of a lot. So it created the schema definition list, the test for that, or the test for services, the it wrote something else to that file, and then it created some layouts which we should be able to navigate to. So there's no categories. So Brad, this is where you create new categories. So I've actually got a whole bunch of categories on the previous site. Okay, let's see if we can do something to extract all these categories. Let's see. Because I'm being lazy. Didn't work. Oh, as much time as I spend doing that, I could probably just type these out. There's only 44 options. So these are the categories that you would see at the grocery store. Is there a way to get these out as a different? So yeah, as much time as I spend figuring out how to extract this out of here, I could just brute force this. Did I spell that wrong? Alright. So I just brute forced that. You see we've added a lot. So let's commit this. We'll say nuke. Add categories. So if you recall, when I tried to add the item, where's it making this complaint? So Southern Comfort, invocation. So let's add the category. You know what? I'm going to close this. When we add the category, let's add it to the uncategorized item. Or to the uncategorized category. So this error occurred in the item services. Prisma item create invocation on item services. So we can no longer just ferry this information over when we create an item, because we need to edit that. So let's console log that. Actually, I think we can do it without. Okay, let's set a const. We'll call it undefined category ID is equal to uncategorized is 42. Wow, such convenience. Uncategorized ID. So that's a little bit funny. If you've read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And I don't know, I just have to talk about this. So the reason why 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything is Douglas Adams did some programming in the 1970s or 80s, and he 42 was a character code, which was like an asterisk. So it was equivalent to this in JavaScript, which meant at the time anything that you wanted to be. It was a variable. It meant anything that you wanted to be. So the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42, which is anything you wanted to be. Very clever. So back to this create item. We need it to, let's look at the required parts. So name, looks like we got defaults on that. So we need to connect the category. So instead of ferrying that over, we're going to say name, and name's already, it's not input.name. And here's how we connect something. So data, we're going to say category connect, the ID is equal to uncategorized ID. All right, so that should add the uncategorized category to anything new. So let's switch back over. So we can add Brad Southern Comfort. Another complaint. So now we're getting this name equals okay, let's look at our GraphQL and see what items we have. Well, that didn't do it. So not saving. Prisma find many item. Did I? Added it to the wrong. Wake up, Chris. All right, should we give it a shot again? Let's have this open as well. Okay, so it's not it should only be calling the create item create invocation item services item services create item invocation item create Okay, let's... So what's wrong with this creation? All right, where have we gone wrong here? Anybody sees it, please shout out to me. Say hello if you're watching. This is one of my first streams on Twitch. Category. If you're just joining, what I'm trying to do is connect my categories that I've just created with my items on this, and I'm working on the service within Redwood to create new items. So Brad said to add Southern Comfort, and I'm trying to add that with the uncategorized ID, which is 42. Conveniently, that was not planned. So let's look at Prisma. Create. Already done all that. Is it in this raw database management? It's not a raw query. Is it in the CRUD? I feel like I'm in the CRUD. There's a create. Prisma, create, connection, connect. That's what we're looking for. Connect. Let's create a profile record to connect to an existing user. So we have the existing we have the existing category. Connect or create, it's already there. So this is the scenario that I think that it is. I'm not sure why it's not working. DB. Let's make it a sync. They had that as a sync await. Let's give it another go. How are you doing today? So Scott just said that he might help promote, so that's a bit scary. That's Scott Tilinsky from the Syntax Podcast. All right, let's look at this again. Southern Comfort. Okay. Create, connect, where unique input. Why is category missing? It should be able to be found. Lines for the plus are required. What the hell is wrong with this? Makes sense to me, like it. Oh, let's just declare it regularly. Should be in scope. What the heck? Stupid imports. Yeah, that's right. Blame Chris Ellis. All right, same issue. Didn't think that would work. Okay, Prisma, let's check this. Let's make sure we've set this up correct. All right. A category will have multiple items, but an item will have a single category, correct? Category ID, yes. References ID, int. All of that's correct. Now, you guys see what the issue is? Because I don't. Make a note. All right, let's check the playground. Nothing's created because we nuked everything. All right, time to break out the console logs. Hello, world. Always type it like that. So let's hit this. Is this being hit on the server? Prisma item create invocation on line 84. Why am I hitting delete? I shouldn't be hitting delete at all. Here's my item create. Okay, if it says that this is being hit, let's break out that console log. That's the previous call. Then we saved 84 line 36 SOCO category ID. Data category is missing. Lines plus are required. Lines with optional. Delete item being hit for some reason. Why is that? Why is this being hit? For the life of me, I can't see why this is being hit. I mean, unless it needs to disconnect the item. I have an idea, but I'm not convinced of my idea. Where data category I have no idea. Just going on a lark. Okay, so maybe there's a validator. Okay, let's go through this logic. If item exists, console log So if the item exists length is that, I don't have something else to do in that create item. But it should be hitting create item. All right. So start at the bottom and go through what it should be doing. So item select is when add an existing item and create a new item. create a new item, then add item to the user list. So this calls create. We need to follow this create item and user item. Create item and user item is defined here by the mutation create new item. Create new item causes create item and user item, which is defined in the SDL right here, which takes an input of create item input, returns an item, which is then in the item services. Sorry. Create item and new item. So this sends back an array, and if the length of the array is equal to 0, then it will create, here we go. That's where the issue is. So it will create an item by the name tacos, with the name, and then it will have a category with a connect of ID is equal to 42. Yeah? Sound good? Think so? Completely unsure. Yeah, development's like running full speed into a brick wall. Southern Comfort. Yes. Okay. So we've got Southern Comfort. Let's look at that in the playground. And category is not defined. So that has to do with our queries. Let's see. So we need to update our SDL to also include items should be returning this back. Let's try from reverse. Categories. Items. Name. Name. So the only one with anything should be this uncategorized. So that's showing correctly. Why don't we look at the SDL or the services for categories? Find many. We need something like this at the bottom. All right. So what we're looking at is we need to start showing the items. Or the categories on an item. How does it keep importing stuff? And this I'm not quite sure how to do. If we have an example. User items. This might be the Fluent API part. Let me traverse the relations. The last function call determines the return type of the entire query. Okay, so I think that this is that Fluent API, which means we need to add something similar to what's here at the bottom. Export item. I'm gonna kill the server and retry. Having some cold brew coffee today. What are you guys drinking? All right, server's back up. Still not showing up. Let's refresh that. This is just not showing up. There we go. Alright, we're at least having this show up. Must have a valid selection of subfields. Return null of item category. All right, we're at least all right. If I had scaffolded this anew, it probably would be working. But I didn't, so it's not. And, you know, so I scaffolded out the category, but I didn't rescaffold out items because I've got a lot of stuff that I've written in there and don't want to lose that. So where I'm at is we're trying to show the category name. That's important because we need to query on that in the future. We may actually do that client side once we expose all this stuff down to the user. But so we can go the other way. So categories, and we'll say name, ID, bucket type. Prettify that. And we'll say items and item name and ID. So you see most of them are empty except we've got down at the bottom Southern Comfort in the uncategorized item. You know what? Do we even need the item specific category? Because I could punt this off to the future, because the way that we're going to be showing this well, it's going to be joined on the user list, user item list. So I think I'm going to punt this off to the next video. We've added categories and they're in there. We need to now connect that with, so we've got user categories, or we got item categories. We will need the item categories. So all right, well, I'm going to stop streaming for today and maybe work on this a little bit later. But have a good day.